I never imagined my wedding day would become a stage for my brother's performance. The hall glittered with lights, music, and laughter. Everything looked perfect until he grabbed the microphone. "Before the groom kisses the bride," Ethan said, grinning, "let's play a little surprise for our lovely couple." My stomach dropped. "Ethan, what are you doing?" I whispered, stepping forward. He winked. "Relax, little brother. It's just a funny slideshow." The screen behind us flickered to life. At first, it showed pictures of Clara and me smiling, dancing, laughing. Then the next clip hit her in a hotel room, another man's voice, her laughter. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My knees almost gave out. "Ethan, turn it off," I shouted. He raised his hands innocently. "What? You didn't know?" His voice carried through the speakers, mocking, sharp. Clara's face went pale. "Ethan, stop this." She screamed, but her voice cracked under the weight of her guilt. Guests started whispering. Phones came out. Some looked away. Others recorded. I stood frozen, staring at the woman I was about to marry. "You filmed this?" I asked her, voice trembling. Her lips quivered. "Lucas, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain," Ethan cut in, smirking. Guess she wasn't into loyalty vows. I turned to him, rage boiling under my skin. "You ruined my wedding?" He tilted his head, smug. "I saved you. You should thank me." "Thank you." I laughed bitterly. "You humiliated me in front of everyone." He shrugged. "Better humiliated now than cheated later, Ethan." My mother rushed up, grabbing his arm. "How could you do this? Not here? Not today?" "Mom," he said calmly, "I just showed the truth. Isn't honesty a good thing?" Her eyes filled with tears. "You're tearing your brother apart." I couldn't move. My hand shook. Every breath felt like swallowing glass. "Lucas," Clara whispered, reaching for me. "Please." "Listen, don't touch me," I said, stepping back. The hall was silent, except for the soft hum of the speakers. I faced the crowd. "Everyone, I'm sorry for this. The ceremony is over." My voice cracked halfway through. Guests began to murmur, gathering their things, leaving one by one. Some patted my shoulder as they passed, pity in their eyes. Others just stared. Ethan leaned against the table, arms crossed. "You're welcome, brother." I clenched my jaw. "You enjoyed that, didn't you?" He smirked. "Maybe a little. You've always had everything handed to you, Dad's business. Mom's affection, even admiration from people who barely know you. About time you felt what it's like to be on the other side." My heart pounded. So this wasn't about Clara. It was about me. He didn't answer, just smiled wider. That silence said everything. Mom slapped him. "You're disgusting, Ethan." He wiped his cheek and scoffed. "You'll see, Mom. I did him a favor." Then he turned and walked out like nothing had happened. Clara sobbed behind me. "Lucas, please, stop," I said quietly. "You made your choice long before today." She covered her face and ran after her parents. I stood there, surrounded by wilted flowers and shattered glasses. The hall that once felt alive now felt like a graveyard. Mom hugged me tightly. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart." I couldn't even cry. I felt hollow. "He's my brother, Mom. How could he do that?" She whispered, "Jealousy makes people cruel." Later that night, I sat alone in my apartment. My tuxedo hung over a chair, wrinkled and useless. The phone buzzed, non-stop, messages, calls, sympathy. I ignored them all. I opened a photo from the rehearsal dinner, Anna and I laughing, his arm around me. I stared at it until my vision blurred. He'd always been the charming one, the confident one. But deep down, I knew he hated how easily people trusted me. Maybe he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life. I poured a drink and stared at my reflection in the glass. My eyes were red, my face pale. "You trusted the wrong people," I muttered. The laughter from earlier still echoed in my head, his laughter. I clenched the glass until it cracked. Blood dripped down my palm, but I didn't care. Pain was easier than shame. That night, I made myself a promise. I would never let him see me broken again. Not ever. The morning after the wedding, I woke up to silence. the kind that felt like punishment. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. "Lucas, you okay?" Mom's voice trembled through the line. "No," I said flatly, "but I'm alive." "Ethan didn't mean to destroy you like that. He just stopped." I cut her off. "He meant every second of it." She sighed. "Please don't do anything reckless." "I already did," I muttered. I trusted him. I hung up. Later that day, I went to the office. My assistant avoided my eyes. "Mr. Lewis from Everlight Events called," she said softly. "He's canceling the partnership." "Why?" I asked, though I already knew. He said it's about the wedding. "People are talking." "Of course they are," I said, forcing a smile. "Tell him I understand." When she left, I sat there staring at my reflection in the computer screen, a man everyone pitied. Then came another call. "Lucas," Mr. Pierce said, "your reputation took a hit. Clients are nervous. Maybe take some time off." "You're letting me go?" I said. "I'm pausing your involvement." "Right," I whispered. A polite way of saying, "I'm done," he sighed. "I'm sorry, son." "Don't be," I said, hanging up before he could finish. Hours passed. My inbox filled with sympathy and gossip disguised as concern. I walked outside just to breathe, but even the air felt heavy. A woman passing by whispered, "That's him." I wanted to scream, but instead I walked faster. When I got home, I found Clara's ring still sitting on my table. I picked it up and laughed, the kind of laugh that hurts your throat. Ethan's words echoed in my head. "You should thank me." I grabbed the nearest thing, a framed photo of the three of us, and smashed it against the wall. Glass scattered across the floor. My phone buzzed again. "Ethan," I stared at the screen. Then I answered. "You got what you wanted?" I said quietly. "Come on, don't be dramatic," he replied, sounding amused. "I told you I saved you. You didn't save me. You broke me. Stop acting like the victim. You'd have found out eventually. Not like that. Not in front of everyone. People forget scandals fast, Lucas. You'll thank me one day. Is that what you tell yourself?" He paused. "Look, man, I'm not your enemy." I laughed bitterly. "Then why do you sound like one?" "Because I'm honest," he said, his tone colder now. "You were too perfect. Someone had to remind you you're human." I stayed silent. "Anyway," he added, "I'll see you around." The line went dead. I sat in the dark, surrounded by broken glass and silence. My chest felt hollow, but somewhere inside, something small started to burn anger. Maybe your pride. Hours later, Mom knocked on my door. "Lucas, please talk to me." "I didn't move, sweetheart," she said softly. "You can't let this destroy you." "I already am destroyed," I whispered. "No," she said firmly. "You're hurt. That's different." Her words hit me harder than I expected. She left soon after, leaving the smell of her perfume lingering behind. I looked around the apartment, the wedding flowers wilting, the cake untouched, the invitations stacked on the counter. I picked one up. My name printed in gold letters, smiling, confident, a man who didn't exist anymore. "Goodbye," I whispered. Striking a match, the flame caught fast, curling the paper. Eating the edges until only ash remained, smoke filled the room, but I didn't cough. I watched the ashes fall, feeling lighter with every flicker. No one was going to save me. Not Mom, not anyone. If I wanted to rise again, I had to do it myself. I looked at the last ember fade and whispered to the empty room, "This is where I start over." Asterisk. Starting over felt like walking barefoot on glass, slow, painful, but necessary. The first call I made was to Mr. Pierce. "Sir, I know I failed, but I'm not done," he sighed. "Lucas, your name's still toxic. Investors don't want headlines with scandal." "I don't want investors," I said. "I want work. Any work. Event planning. After that wedding disaster." "That's exactly why," I said. "I need to prove I can handle chaos." He paused, then chuckled softly. "You've got guts." "All right, I'll throw you a small gig, a corporate launch. Won't screw it up." "I won't," I promised. I didn't sleep for 3 nights. I handled every detail myself. Table setups, sound checks, flower placements. My hands shook. From exhaustion, But when the event ended in applause, I felt something I hadn't in months. Control. A week later, a woman approached me after another job. "You're Lucas Rivers, right?" I nodded cautiously. "I'm Hannah Kim," she said, extending her hand. "PR consultant. You've been trending online for months. Not exactly for good reasons." "I noticed," I said dryly. She smiled faintly. "But the way you handled that last event? Impressive. You didn't crumble under pressure. I like that. You're the first person to say that since the wedding." "Then let's change the narrative," she said. "I can help you rebuild your image if you're willing to listen." I hesitated. "Why help me?" "Because everyone deserves a comeback story," she said simply. That line stuck with me. We started working together. She coached me through every interview. "Don't deny what happened," she said. "Own it. People love resilience. So I'm supposed to turn my humiliation into marketing?" She grinned. "Exactly. Be the man who rose after betrayal. Make your downfall your brand." I laughed. "That's cruelly poetic. It's powerful," she replied. Pain sells when it's honest. Her confidence was contagious. Within months, I booked more clients, small weddings, product launches, charity dinners. People whispered about my story, but not with pity anymore. One night, after an event, Hannah and I sat outside under string lights, sipping coffee. "Do you ever think about him?" she asked. I looked down. "Every day you hate him?" "I try not to," I said quietly. "Hate keeps me stuck." "Then what keeps you moving? Thought of proving him wrong?" She nodded. "That's enough fuel for now. Just don't let revenge become your identity." I smirked. "You sound like my therapist." "I'm cheaper," she said, laughing softly. I liked the way she laughed. Calm, genuine, unbothered by my scars. Weeks turned into months. I kept grinding. Some nights I'd crash on my office couch, smelling of coffee and sweat, staring at the ceiling until sunrise. Each morning I told myself, "Keep going." Mr. Pierce called again. "Lucas, I've been watching you. You turned ridicule into respect. How'd you pull that off?" "Stop waiting for people to believe in me." He chuckled. "I'm back in. Let's talk partnership." I smiled for the first time in a long while. "You won't regret it." Hannah heard the news before I could tell her. She showed up with a bottle of champagne. "Phoenix Events," she said, raising her glass. Fitting name for a man who burned and rose again. I clinked mine against hers. 2 second chances," she grinned. "And to the people brave enough to take them." When I locked up the office, I stood alone in the quiet. My reflection in the glass door looked different, older, sharper, maybe stronger. The world might have forgotten my fall, but I hadn't. I carried it like armor, not chains. And somewhere deep inside, I whispered to myself, "You're not a nobody anymore." Success looks different when you've tasted humiliation first. Every headline, every handshake, every applause hits deeper. I stood at the center of my office, glass walls glowing with city light. "Phoenix Events," the sign read. My rebirth. Hannah walked in holding a clipboard. "Big news. The Langford Foundation wants you to run their charity gala." "Biggest event of the year," I smiled. "We earned it." "We did," she said. "But this one is huge, Lucas. Celebrities, diplomats, every major network covering it." "Good," I replied. "Let them watch." As she left, I whispered to myself, "You climbed back. You did it." 2 weeks later, at the venue walkthrough, I checked the security list. One name stabbed my eyes like a blade. Ethan Rivers. My heartbeat slowed, then tightened. "No way," I muttered. A staff member noticed my expression. "Everything okay, sir?" "Yeah," I said, forcing calm. "Just recognizing a name." Anna leaned close. "Bad name?" "The worst," I answered quietly. She studied me. "Do you want someone else hired?" "No," I said. "Let him come." "You sure?" "Yes. I'm not the one who should run." The day of the event, spotlights swept across the entrance. Guests poured in, dressed like royalty, cameras flashing. I straightened my suit, breathing slow. Then I saw him. Ethan stood by the door in a security uniform. Shoulders lower. Eyes older. The man who once mocked me in front of the world looked small, He saw me. For a moment, his jaw froze. I stepped toward him. "Lucas," he breathed. "It's been a while," I replied calmly. No anger, no tremble, just steel. He swallowed. "I didn't know you were the organizer. I didn't know you were doing security work," I said. "Life changes." He looked down. "Yeah, happens." A guest interrupted. "Sir, where should I check in?" I turned to them smoothly. "Right through the doors. Welcome." And I glanced back at Ethan. "Do your job well tonight." He nodded, almost grateful for the dignity. "I will." I walked away, pulse steady. Hannah caught up to me. "You okay?" "Better than I expected. You didn't throw him out. No karma already works here." "I don't need to." "You really changed," she whispered. I had to. Inside, I directed the final arrangements. "Raise the lights on table 7, I said. "Shift the floral arch to feet left." My voice was steady, confident. No trace of the man who once shook in shame. A staff member whispered, "Your brother looks nervous outside." "Let him be," I answered. "Tonight isn't about him." Midway through the event, donors clapped as I walked on stage. "Thank you all for supporting a future full of hope," I said into the mic. "Tonight isn't about wealth. It's about rebuilding brick by brick, heart by heart." Applause roared. Cameras flashed. I scanned the crowd and thought, Ethan thought he broke me. He built me. When I stepped off stage, Ethan appeared near the corridor, hands clasped behind him. "You spoke well," he murmured. "You always did." I nodded. "And you've always watched." He winced. But I didn't say it with cruelty, just truth. "I never thought you'd get here," he confessed. "That makes 2 of us." He looked tired. "Lucas, not tonight," I interrupted gently. "I'm working." He lowered his head. "Right." I walked past him, feeling nothing sharp, only distance. Strength didn't roar anymore. It whispered. Hannah joined me again. "You handled that like a king." "I'm not here to crush him," I said quietly. "I'm here to rise." "And you have," she replied, smiling softly. The music swelled. Guests laughed. The room sparkled. And somewhere behind me, my brother stood as a guard while I stood as the host. I didn't need revenge to feel victorious. Living well was enough. Asterisk. The second night of the gala, I saw him again, and standing by the entrance in his black uniform. Time didn't slow. It just tightened, pressing the air out of my chest. He saw me first. His shoulders stiffened. "Evening, sir," he said. That word "sir" cut deeper than any insult. I walked closer. "You don't need to call me that." He forced a smile. "It's policy. It's irony," I said quietly. He looked away. "You look different." "I should," I replied. "Some people evolve, some don't." He swallowed hard. "I deserve that." "Deserve's not my concern anymore," I said. "Just do your job." He nodded, eyes down. "Yes, sir." I almost laughed, but the sound caught in my throat. "Ethan, why are you here?" "Because work's work," he muttered. "It pays the bills. Didn't think you'd ever settle for guarding doors." He gave a weak smile. "Didn't think you'd ever forgive me." To belong to my world, Hannah appeared beside me. "Everything okay?" I nodded. "Fine. Just old history." She glanced at Ethan. "He's family," as I said. "Now he's just part of the crew." Ethan lowered his gaze. "I'll stay out of your way." "Good," I said softly. "That's all I ask." As she and I walked back toward the ballroom, Hannah whispered, "You didn't lose your cool." "I don't need to," I replied. "He already knows what he did." She looked impressed. "You're calmer than I'd be." "I'm not calm," I said. "I'm controlled." Big difference. Halfway through the night, I watched him from across the hall. Every time he spoke to a guest, he avoided my eyes. Every "yes, sir" he gave someone else reminded me of that Datha microphone. Okay, the laughter, the screen. But now the roles had switched. He was invisible. I was the one everyone saw. Later, near midnight, I found him outside taking a smoke break. The cold air bit at my face. "Still smoking," I said. He looked startled. Old habits. I remember Dad hated that smell. He said softly. He hated a lot about me. Maybe because you made it easy, I replied. He nodded, staring at the ground. You know, I used to think you were lucky. Everyone loved you. I just wanted that. And you thought destroying me would fix that? I thought it evened the score, he said. But it ruined everything. The wind pushed his words away, but I heard enough. I didn't come to gloat, I said. I came to make sure I could look at you without hate. Turns out I can. He looked up slowly. So that's it? You forgive me? No, I said. Forgiveness is something you earn. But I'm not your prisoner anymore. He exhaled. Guess that's fair. I'm glad you think so, I said, turning to leave. Lucas, he called after me. I'm sorry. For real. I stopped, but didn't face him. Keep it, I said. Apologies mean more when they're not expected. When I walked back inside, Hannah caught my arm. You okay? I am, I said simply. For the first time, I really am. She smiled softly. You didn't need revenge after all. No, I said, glancing at the door where Ethan stood again. I just needed him to see what peace looks like. The rest of the night, blurred music, applause, flashes of light, but I stayed grounded, calm. Every cheer felt like an echo from the past finally fading out. Sometimes silence screams louder than rage. Tonight, my silence drowned out his ghosts. The first rumor reached me during a meeting. Hannah whispered it across the table. Someone said Ethan got fired again. I froze mid-sentence. From where? Some security firm downtown. Apparently, he lost his temper with a client. I nodded slowly. Sounds familiar? She hesitated. You okay? I'm not sure, I admitted. Part of me wants to laugh. The other part just feels tired. After the meeting, my phone buzzed. Mom, I stared at the screen before answering. Lucas, she began softly. Have you talked to your brother lately? No, I said. And I wasn't planning to. Her sigh crackled through the line. He's in trouble. He's been fired twice this year. His girlfriend left. He's living alone now. Why are you telling me this? I asked even though I already knew, because you're his brother. He needs help. Help. I laughed bitterly. You mean the kind he gave me? Lucas, please, she said, voice breaking. He's paying for what he did. Isn't that enough? Enough for who? I asked quietly. For him? Or for you? She didn't answer. I could almost hear her tears. I'm not sure if you're asking for mercy or guilt, I said finally. I'm asking for you to be better than this, she whispered. I ended the call before I said something cruel. That night, Hannah came by my office. She set a cup of coffee on my desk and sat across from me. You look like you're arguing with your own thoughts. Maybe I am, I said. Mom wants me to help Ethan, and what do you want? I don't know. I used to want revenge. Now, I just want peace. But peace feels like indifference, and that scares me. She leaned forward. You think walking away makes you cold? It doesn't. It makes you free. I keep thinking of his face at the gala, I said. He looked empty. People who hurt others usually end up there, she replied. You didn't have to do anything? I exhaled slowly. Maybe that's the point. Maybe justice doesn't need my hands. It just needs time, Hannah smiled faintly. There's your answer. After she left, I sat in the dark, staring at the city through the glass walls. My reflection stared back, but it wasn't the man I used to be. Back then, I was all fire and pain. Now, I was calm. Almost unrecognizable the next morning, I found another message from Mom. Just 2 words. He's struggling. I didn't reply. Later that day, during a site visit, one of the vendors pulled me aside. Hey, you're Ethan Rivers' brother, right? I stiffened. Why? He applied here last week. Didn't get the job. Word is, he's been desperate. I nodded. Thanks for telling me. Didn't mean to bring up bad blood. It's fine, I said, though it wasn't. Driving home, I couldn't shake the image of him, the man who once stood taller than me, now scraping for work. Karma had a quiet way of settling debts. That night, Mom called again. Lucas, please, Just talk to him. What would I even say? Anything. He needs to hear your voice. Maybe he needs to hear his own silence, I said. Sometimes, silence teaches more than words. Lucas, Mom, I interrupted softly. I can't fix what he broke. Not for him. Not for me. When the call ended, I stared at my reflection again in the dark window. The city lights flickered behind me, and for the first time I didn't see a victim or a survivor. I just saw a man changed, scarred, but finally whole. I whispered, "You made it through." And for once, I believed it. The night of my biggest event felt electric. The ballroom shimmered with gold light, every detail sharp and deliberate. Reporters lined the edges, cameras ready. Phoenix Events had never looked stronger. Hannah brushed past me with her headset. "We're livin' 5, she said. "You good?" "I'm perfect," I replied, adjusting my tie. "Let's make this flawless." But fate doesn't care about flawless. Half an hour later, the crowd buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses. I was about to go on stage when a shout sliced through the noise. "Hey, watch it," someone yelled. I turned just in time to see two guests arguing near the bar. A waiter backed away as one man shoved the other. The crowd gasped. Then I saw him, Ethan, moving through the chaos, trying to stop the fight. His posture was stiff, clumsy. "Gentlemen, please," he said, but one of them swung a drink at him. It splashed across his shirt. The cameras turned instantly. Flashes exploded. Someone recorded everything. "Ethan, step back." His boss barked from across the room. "You're making it worse." "I'm handling it," Ethan snapped, wiping his face. "You're not," his boss growled. "You're fired. Get out." The words hit the air like thunder. The same way mine once had years ago, humiliated in front of everyone. Ethan froze, drenched, shaking. Guests whispered, eyes wide. I could feel the weight of their pity, the same pity I once carried. Hannah tugged my sleeve. "Lucas, do something." What would I even say? I whispered, "Anything. He's your brother." I walked forward slowly. Ethan's eyes found mine through the crowd. For a moment, neither of us spoke. He looked smaller than ever, broken in a way I recognized too well. He swallowed hard. Guest karma finally caught me, kept my voice calm. "You okay?" He gave a hollow laugh. "Do I look okay?" "Not really." He looked down at his soaked shirt. "Guess now you get to laugh, huh?" "I'm not laughing," I said quietly. "That's the difference between us." He stared at me, confused. "Why aren't you angry? Why aren't you anything?" "Because it's over," I said. "Everything you did already taught me who I never want to be." He blinked, his eyes glassy. "You got everything." "I lost everything." "Is that what you wanted?" "I wanted peace," I replied. "Turns out, peace doesn't come from watching someone fall. It comes from walking away." His voice broke. "Then walk." I nodded once. "Take care of yourself, Ethan." As I turned to leave, he muttered, "You sound just like Dad." That stopped me for a second. "Maybe that's not a bad thing," I said. When I stepped back into the ballroom, the whispers followed me. Hannah met me halfway, concern in her eyes. "That was brutal." "I know," I said. "But it wasn't my punishment to give." She touched my arm gently. "You could have humiliated him back." "I could have," I said. "But I've been on that stage before. It's not victory. It's poison." We stood by the glass doors, watching Ethan walk out into the rain. No spotlight, no laughter, just silence. "Do you feel better?" she asked softly. "No," I said. "Just lighter." She nodded. "Maybe that's what forgiveness feels like. Not happiness, just release." "I'm not sure I've forgiven him," I admitted. "But I think I've forgiven myself for ever wanting revenge." Hannah smiled faintly. "That's progress." As the music swelled again and guests returned to their chatter, I walked to the side mirror near the entrance. My reflection stared back, calm, still unfamiliar. "I don't recognize that man anymore," I murmured. Hannah joined me, glancing at the mirror. "You shouldn't. He's not the broken one who got humiliated at his own wedding." "No," I said. He's the one who learned how to stand still when the world burns. We stood in silence as the cameras outside captured the aftermath. For once, I didn't care about the headlines. Ethan had fallen the same way I had years ago, but I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to understand. Revenge had burned itself out. What was left was clarity, and it was enough. The gala had ended hours ago, but I stayed behind, walking through the quiet ballroom. The lights were dim, the floor still glittered from spilled champagne. I liked the silence. It reminded me that everything grand eventually fades. Then I heard footsteps. Lucas. Ethan's voice came from behind me, low, uncertain. I didn't turn. You shouldn't be here. I know, he said. But I had to say something. I finally faced him. His eyes were sunken, his uniform wrinkled. He looked older, smaller. What could you possibly say that I haven't already heard? He swallowed. I was jealous. I stared at him. That's your grand revelation? No, he said, shaking his head. I was jealous because you had everything: respect, trust, love. I thought if I tore you down, I'd finally feel like someone. You thought humiliation would make you whole? He nodded weakly. I thought watching you fall would fix something inside me. But it didn't. It ruined me instead. I crossed my arms. You destroyed my life for sport, Ethan. Do you have any idea what that felt like? His voice cracked. I think I do now. Everything I touch turns to dust. Jobs, friends, relationships, Mom barely speaks to me anymore. That's what happens when truth catches up. Look down. I deserve it. You do? I said quietly. He winced. I know. I didn't come for pity. Then why? To tell you I'm sorry? The words hung in the air like smoke, visible, heavy, but fading fast. I'm sorry for everything, he said. For the wedding? For lying. For acting like your pain was entertainment? You didn't deserve any of it. My throat tightened, but I stayed still. You think saying sorry fixes the years I spent rebuilding from ashes? No, he said softly. I know it doesn't, but I needed to say it anyway. Why now? He hesitated. Because when I saw you tonight, calm, confident, untouchably, realized I'd been chasing the wrong kind of power. You won. Not because you beat me, but because you survived me. I didn't know what to say. He took a step closer. I thought about that video 1,000 times. About the look on your face? I can't erase it. Every time I close my eyes, it's there. Good. Maybe that's your punishment. He nodded. Maybe it is. Silence stretched between us. I could hear the faint hum of the lights, the soft creak of the floor beneath us. You want forgiveness? I asked finally. I don't expect it. Good, I said. Because I don't have it to give. He let out a shaky breath. Fair enough. We waited years for this, I said. Was it worth it? He shook his head. No, nothing I gained was worth what I lost. What exactly did you lose? He looked at me with hollow eyes. You. That hit deeper than I wanted it to. I used to think brothers could survive anything, I said quietly. Turns out betrayal kills more than trust. It kills memory. I can't remember the version of you I used to love. Cool down, he said. And I'm sorry for that too. I nodded slowly. Sometimes sorry isn't about forgiveness. It's just about finally understanding the damage. He nodded, eyes glistening. So where do we go from here? We don't, I said gently. You live with what you did. I live with what I became. He opened his mouth, then stopped. You really changed. I had to, I replied. You made sure of that. He gave a faint, broken smile. Good night, Lucas. Goodbye, Ethan. He left without looking back. For a long moment, I stood alone in the echo of his footsteps. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel anger. Just quiet. Sometimes silence is mercy. The apartment felt too quiet when I walked in. The city lights blinked through the window, soft and distant. I dropped my keys on the counter and loosened my tie. Every sound echoed like it belonged to someone else's life. For a long time, I just stood there, staring at the empty space where my reflection caught faintly in the glass. Then I spoke softly. You made it back. My voice didn't sound like mine. I walked to the mirror near the hallway. The man staring back wasn't the same one who'd been humiliated years ago. His posture was straight, his eyes calm. There was no anger, no fear, just quiet certainty. "Who are you?" I whispered. The man in the mirror didn't answer, but I knew. I was the version of me that survived the fire. My phone buzzed. "Hannah," I answered, still looking at my reflection. "Hey, you disappeared after the event," she said. "You okay?" "I'm good," I said honestly. "Tired, but good." I saw Ethan leave. Looked like he finally said something. "He did," I replied. "Too late, though. You forgive him?" "No," I said after a pause. "But I don't hate him either," she exhaled softly. "That's peace, Lucas." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe it's just letting go." She smiled through her voice. "Whatever it is, it looks good on you." I chuckled quietly. "Thanks, Hannah. Get some rest," she said. "You've earned it." When the call ended, I turned back to the mirror. My reflection waited, patient. "I thought revenge would make me feel alive again," I said to him. But it didn't. It just burned everything until only truth was left. I walked to the drawer of my desk and pulled it open. Inside was a small velvet box I hadn't touched in years. I opened it. The wedding ring glinted under the soft light, still polished, still mocking. For a second I just stared at it. That ring had once meant forever. Then it became a weight I carried long after everything ended. "Not anymore," I whispered. I closed my fingers around it, feeling its cold edge against my skin, and walked out to the balcony. The wind from the ocean carried the faint scent of salt and rain. Waves crashed in the distance, rhythmic, steady like a heartbeat. I leaned on the railing, looked at the ring one last time, and said, "You did it." Not to Ethan, not to Clara, not even to the world, to me. Then I threw it. It arced through the air, catching the moonlight before vanishing into the dark water below. I listened for the splash, faint and distant, and felt something inside me go with it, something heavy, something old. For the first time in years, my chest didn't ache. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful. I turned back toward the mirror through the open balcony door. The man there didn't look broken or vengeful. He looked free. I smiled faintly. "You're not the groom who got laughed at," I told him. "You're the man who rose from it." The city glowed behind me, the ocean whispered below, and for once, the night felt like a beginning instead of an ending. Months passed, and life softened around the edges. The noise of success no longer thrilled me. It steadied me. When I decided to host another gala, it wasn't for headlines or clients. It was for something real, a scholarship program for people who'd lost everything, like I once had. The ballroom glowed that night, not from vanity, but from purpose. The air buzzed with warmth instead of tension. Hannah stood beside me, clipboard in hand, smiling. "You nervous?" she asked. "Not really," I said. "Just grateful." "Gosh." She nudged my arm. "You've changed, Lucas." "I had to," I replied. "The storm forced me to rebuild differently." "Tonight's going to mean something," she said softly. "You're giving people hope." "That's the goal," I said, adjusting my cufflinks. "Not revenge. Not image. Just light." The guests began to arrive, donors, partners, and students. Cameras flashed, but this time, I didn't feel exposed. I felt seen. Midway through the evening, while speeches echoed across the hall, Hannah leaned close. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Just thinking about him." I hesitated. "Maybe." Her gaze followed mine. "Is that?" "Yes," I said quietly. "That's Ethan." He stood near the registration table, wearing a volunteer badge, arranging chairs with the others. No uniform. No arrogance. Just calm. Hannah whispered. "Do you want me to ask him to leave?" "No," I said. "He belongs here as much as anyone." She looked surprised. "After everything?" "After everything," I repeated. Ethan noticed me. For a moment, our eyes locked across the room. He hesitated, then walked closer, stopping just a few feet away. "Lucas," he said, his voice steady but humble. Didn't expect to see you here. I could say the same. He rubbed the back of his neck. I signed up to help. Figured I should start doing something that isn't about me. I nodded. Good start. He smiled faintly. You're different. So are you. We stood there, not as brothers torn apart, but as men who'd lived through the consequences of their choices. Everything you're doing here, he said, glancing at the crowd. It's incredible. Dad would have been proud. I exhaled. Maybe it took me long enough to figure out who I wanted to be. He looked down. I'm still figuring it out. It's fine, I said. Growth doesn't need to be fast. Just honest. He nodded, eyes glistening. Thank you for not hating me. I did, I admitted. For a long time, but hate's heavy. I had to drop it somewhere. Swallowed hard. Then I'll carry the rest. You don't have to, I said. You just have to be better. Faint smile crossed his face. Working on it. Before I could respond, the host called my name to the stage. The applause was loud, but I didn't feel like a star. I felt like a survivor. I stepped to the microphone. Tonight, I said, isn't about power or redemption. It's about rebuilding. When life takes everything, it also gives you a chance to start again. The crowd erupted in applause. I caught Hannah's proud smile from the front row, steady, knowing. When I glanced back toward Ethan, he met my eyes again. This time, he didn't look broken. He just nodded once. I nodded back. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. It was acceptance. The kind that ends a storm without needing to clear the sky later. As the lights dimmed and the music faded, I whispered to myself, this is what peace looks like. For the first time, I didn't just believe it, I felt it.